Welcome to the Richard Lloyd USA YouTube channel. I'm Richard Lloyd. This video will be the third in a series of DD-WRT installation videos. There are two before this, and I will be linking them up there. Make sure you look at those videos first. And what I've been doing is starting from step one, putting DD-WRT on the router, and I'll show you an image of what that looked like. This is a block diagram of it. And definitely in the TLDR category. But in the first video, we basically installed DD-WRT and made it semi-secure. And by the way, this configuration is what we had when we were finished. And this is way more secure just on my first configuration of DD-WRT on the MR7350, this lovely router I really like. Well, compared to the stock firmware, this configuration is way better. Number one, the firmware on this router was last updated 6 days ago. So, you know, the firmware on Linksys' website for this same router was updated in 2021. So which one do you think is better, right? So again, just out of the box, doing a DD-WRT, this is what you're going to have. That's the first video. Second video, I tightened it up a little bit because as you can see here on this video, or maybe you can't, I don't know. Everything's on the same network and then connected to the router, which is also on the same network. But the IoT devices were jailed, so they couldn't, you know, if they were compromised, they couldn't hack anything here. But they could actually reach the router. And if these things were compromised, they could hack each other, but they could also attack the router as well. So in the next video, what I did was take the IoT devices and completely disconnect them from the router, and then leave the home network all on the same network, which was 192.168.1.1 on, you know, by itself. So now, at least these devices, which are the most likely to get hacked, are not accessing your home network or your devices on your home network. So that was good. But all these devices, if any one of these gets compromised in any way whatsoever, these devices all see each other, and they can compromise the router too because they're connected to the router as well. So in this video, what we're going to do is something like this. We're going to disconnect everything from the router. The router is going to be on its own network here, and then everything else is going to be separated by two other networks. And I'll show you the simplified version of this. This is what we're going to have. The router by itself on 192.168.1.1, and that's going to be the 192.168.1 network is going to be the routers and the routers only. That's the only thing that's going to be on that network. Then we're going to pull out your home network and move it all over to 192.168.20 network, and everything will be in that, well, we'll call that island. The IoT devices stay exactly where they are, where we put them on the second video, isolated by themselves and jailed as well because they cannot talk to each other either. They can just call the mothership here and you know, basically communicate with whatever server runs these devices. Now, and that's perfectly fine. That's how you always want it. Now, I would consider in these devices, the phones, you know, especially if they're your kids, but even yours, I would just put that in the IoT bucket as well. Up to you, of course. And again, videos will be up here. And you can watch how I did that on the second video. Now, what we're going to do is separate this out, and then the router will be on by itself, as I stated. And the only way you're going to be able to access the router is to physically connect an Ethernet cable from your computer to port 1 on the router. Now, what is port 1 on the router? Port 1 on the router, if you're looking at the back of it, is the one that's furthest away from the actual LAN port or the internet port. And they're actually labeled, they have numbers on them, but it's the one closest to the antenna. So that's the one that you're going to use to connect to it. Now, right now, I'm going to connect to it on that port, and then we're going to configure everything that we're going to do here. And I strongly recommend that you use that port because we're going to basically isolate the router to that port. And since we're configuring the router, you want to be on that port. So let's go and get at it. just so you know, your home network will be limited now to 3 LAN ports instead of 4. If you need more ports on the back of your router, all you need to do is buy a switch like this. This is a 5-port switch, and that's under $20. Usually one of these goes around $10 to $15. And but I would just go all the way and get yourself an 8-port switch, because they're usually another $3 or $4, but you get 8 ports instead of 5. And every time you plug a switch into your router or into one of your ports on your Ethernet, you lose a port on the on the switch, and you lose a port on the router. So here you have 3 LAN ports. If you buy a 5-port switch and plug it in, you're going to have 4 ports on the switch and 2 ports left over on the router. So therefore you got 6. But if you buy an 8-port, what you get is you use one up connecting it to the router, and you take one out of the router, and now you've got 2 on the router and 7 on the switch, and that's a total of 9. So, and again, I'll put links for this stuff in the video description below, you know, to the switches I recommend. There are some cheaper ones that come in plastic cases like these ones, right? And I'll link those as well. And as far as what they do, being a switch, the plastic casing ones are just do everything that the metal casing ones do. They're just cheaper. I just like the metal casings. They're heavier. They feel better. I just, you know, again, I'd rather pay a little more and get a little more. And I feel that you get a little aesthetically more on the metal cased switches than you do on the plastic ones, but they both have the same speeds and functionality. So it's up to you what you get. Again, we're going to be using up 1 LAN port as a router only port, and the rest will be available to you. And again, as I said, you can expand it with a switch. So let's get at the router. Again, open up a browser window, and we're going to go to private. I always use private window in Firefox. It works really well. We're going to go to 192.168.1.1. And here I'm just going to click to advanced and proceed. And if you watch those other videos, you'll know why this came up. So admin. And I'm assuming that you watched the other videos, because this won't make much sense if you haven't, because basically the router is half configured right now. You know, all we're doing is, as you saw in that, well, all we're doing is moving the router out of this circle and putting it in its own network, and making this a separate network. And as you can see, everything connects to the internet, everything talks to each other, and except nothing has access to the router except you with an Ethernet cable connected to your router. So let's go do it. So we're connected here. Go to setup. Everything that we're doing is going to be done in the network tab. So scroll down here. You can tell we've already been here already. We have a BR6 or a bridge 6 here. And what we're going to put in, and I'll show you the more detailed picture, or diagram, I should say. Let's see if I can go. There we go. This is what we're going to do. And I'm going to put this diagram as a link to my webpage in the comment section below. So make sure you use the comment section. If you anything you want to say to me, you know, questions, suggestions, you know, constructive criticism, whatever you want to say, you know, thank yous, those are great too. Put them in the comment section below, and this will be linked, and you'll be able to see all this on my webpage. And basically what this does for you is, once you're done, you have a diagram that tells you, hey, where is everything? What is that? And I labeled everything as I'm doing it in this video, and as it's been done in the other videos as well. So let's just call it your manual kind of deal. Here, we're going to create a new bridge. Here under create a bridge, we're going to hit plus. And you can think of these bridges as virtual routers. Here, we're going to turn the STP off. STP is a spanning tree protocol, and we don't need it here. It's just in case you plugged an Ethernet cable and created a network loop, which you'll know pretty quickly anyway, because things will stop working when you do it. So here we're going to type in BR2. We're going to call it bridge 2. And then once you've done that, just hit save and apply. It's basically every time you change something here, you have to hit save and apply, because the router it will forget it on the next change. So see, as I said, it just sort of reboots every time you do it. So now we have BR2. Now notice here that BR6, which holds our Wi-Fi, there it is. It just populated here, right? So that's the Wi-Fi for the IoT devices. Bridge 2, we're going to take everything from here except for the LAN 1 interface. That's going to stay on bridge 0, which is the router. Bridge 0 is the router. Bridge 2 is going to be port 2, 3, and 4 on the router. And bridge 6 is the Wi-Fi, the IoT Wi-Fi. So let's continue on. Here we're going to hit plus on the assign to bridge. We're going to assign stuff to it. So we're going to go and choose BR2, and the label will show up later. And we're going to choose LAN 2 on BR2, and then hit save and apply. And you'll see it start populating down here as the router catches up. It seems to have to like do a little reboot on the network every time you do it. So there's one. I'm going to go see, there it is. So now we got LAN 3, 1, 3, and 4 left on bridge 0, which is the router. Wi-Fi is on BR6 as it was always before. Those are the IoT Wi-Fis. And LAN 2 is now on BR2. But we are going to put LAN 3 and 4 on there as well. So here we're just going to hit plus. And again, BR2, everything's going into that 2 router or virtual bridge. And we're going to put LAN 3 in there. And again, save and apply. And you'll see slowly here that LAN 3 will pop off BR0 and be on BR2. Here, I'm just going to hit plus again. Let's do one more, because we got to put, so choose BR2 again. We're going to put LAN 4 on it. And these are the Ethernet ports on the back of your router. So 3 of the Ethernet ports on the back of your router will be on the BR2 home network. So save and apply again. All right. Now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and notice, well, we'll see here in a second. All right, so now we got LAN 2, 3, and 4 on BR2. Now the BR0, which is the router itself, has LAN 1, and it will, and now you notice on BR0 that the WLAN 0 and WLAN 1 are still there. That is the Wi-Fi for that network. So we're going to move those here in a second. So the way we do that again is just click plus. And we have to move them to the BR2. So we're going to create a new BR2. And there we are. I'm going to go with WLAN 0. There we go. And save and apply. And again, back to my router here, my manual here, you can see that I've actually labeled them here, WLAN 0.1, WLAN 1.1, and it shows you what they are. And like I said, if you follow these videos from the first one to now, everything will line up. And you can see here, the primary network on 20 is going to have LAN 2, 3, and 4. It's going to have DD-WRT 2.4 gigahertz on WLAN 0 and DD-WRT 5 gigahertz on WLAN 1. And I show you settings that you should, you should actually use for more security. So those are there. Now, again, if you've watched those videos, you'll know. And now you can see we have WLAN 1. Sorry, WLAN 1 still on there because that's the last one to move. So we're going to click on plus. Sorry, here. We're not creating a new bridge. We're just assigning stuff to the bridge. So again, BR2 and WLAN 1. See it right here? So it's going to move. Save and apply. Beautiful. Now, once the router catches up, you'll see that BR0, which is the router, will only have LAN 1 assigned to it. That's it. No Wi-Fi on it, nothing. All that's going to be here and here. All right. Really cool. I love that you can do this on DD-WRT. So now we're set. BR0 only has a LAN interface. BR2 has LAN 2, 3, and 4, and WLAN, which is wireless LAN 0 and wireless LAN 1. And if you want to know what the wireless LANs are, you can check them over here on wireless. They tell you up here. So WLAN 0 right there is a 5 gigahertz. And it is also the DD-WRT 5G. That's WLAN 0. And WLAN 1 is 2.4 gigahertz, DD-WRT 2.4. And under here on the virtual interfaces that we created for the IoT jail, these also say WLAN 0.1, and they tell you what they belong to, right? Same deal. You want to find out where their labels for these Wi-Fi connections are. It's right there. So let's go back to setup. Do a refresh here. There we go. Networking. And all that is now set up. But, and yeah, that's great. Now we've got everything assigned correctly. We got to give these things IP addresses. So let's go do that. And since we are working with BR2, you can see here, network configuration BR2. We're going to call it, what do we call it? Well, what did I call it on the network? I called it LAN 2 and Wi-Fi, plus Wi-Fi. So we're going to call it that. LAN 2 and plus Wi-Fi. There we go. And you want to click this radio button for sure, net isolation. What that does is it stops anybody on your network from actually seeing the router or trying to get to 192.168.1.1. The router will just basically, when you do that, the router is now completely disconnected from this network as far as being able to ping it or log into it or control it on this network. Now remember, the only way you're going to get into the router from now on is to plug an Ethernet cable into port 1 of the physical port 1 on the router and to the back of your computer. Otherwise, it will disappear from the network, which is what it should do as far as I'm concerned. And now we're going to put the IP address in for this network, 192.168.20.1, and then down here after the slash, just put in 24, which will give you 254, I believe, internet addresses on that network, a full, basically as many as you would get normally. And then once you do that, of course, save and apply. Now, once you've got this saved and applied, just check it. LAN 2, Wi-Fi, yep, we got IP address, everything's good. Net isolation, great. There's the guest Wi-Fi. Now, down here, we need to add a DHCP server to that network, or else nothing on that network will get an IP address. So here we're just going to click on plus. Down at the very bottom under DHCPD. So now we've got the BR6 in here. We're going to add BR2. There we go. And just hit save and apply. It will pick up its own settings from what we already did. You don't really need to do anything else on that. So right there, you can see BR2, LAN 2, and Wi-Fi. I call it LAN 2 because it's on the second port. And it's also on the third port and the fourth port. So I guess I could relabel that. Let's do that just to keep things clear. LAN 2, 3, 4, and Wi-Fi. There we go. You can get, like I said, these are just labels. You can get creative if you want, but customize it any way you want. And then if we scroll down to the bottom, it should be showing that down here. See, BR2, LAN 2, 3, and 4, and Wi-Fi. At this point, we're actually done configuring this router on those ports. Now, what I am connected, as I told you, that you should be connected to port 1. All right, once you've got all this done, next thing that you want to do is actually just reboot the router. Just go over to the administration tab, hit the reboot right here. That resets everything, and then it comes up fresh. I'm going to take the Ethernet cable from port 1 and put it on port 2 after it reboots, after I make sure everything's working, and then I'll pick it up from there. The router's rebooted. I'm going to go check and see what the IP address currently is on port 1, make sure we got that working correctly. So I'm still on port 1, so I'm going to hit my Ethernet connection and see what the details on that IP address are. Yeah, 192.168.1.1. So let's disconnect from port 1, put it on port 2, and just instantly it comes up. So let's see what it says about this. Status. Well, still identifying. There we go. Go back to right-click it, choose status, go to details, and voila, 192.168.20.1 network. My IP is 20.141. Now, if I go to this, the third port, I should get the same result. Let's try it. So this would be port 3. Status, details. Yep, 20.141, 20.1 is the right network. And check the fourth port just for fun. And status. Yeah, nothing there. We're on 20.1 and 141. So we should not be able to get to this router page at all. So let's just try that fresh. Here we go. Let's put 192.168.1.1. Nothing. It'll sit here till it times out. But if you go plus here and do a speed test, you can see we're on the internet, right? So the network is up and running, and let's change this to my favorite here, which is Fort Worth, and just do a little speed test right now. Here we go. And you can see that MR7350 just blasting fast, you know. Look at that speed. Amazing. I got a gigabit service, and I'm almost getting the entire thing, so pretty good. And back here, well, connection is timed out because we'd have no access to 192.168.1.1 on this network, which is by design. So let's try the Wi-Fi. Let's disconnect from Ethernet completely. Disable. There we go. And minimize that out of the way. See what my speed was. Pretty decent, huh? Let's go to the Wi-Fi. Turn it on. And if you look at our diagram, you'll see that our Wi-Fi's are G-Wi-Fi 24, but that's the isolated Wi-Fi. What we have now is going to be DD-WRT 2.4 and 5 gigahertz on our network, which is going to be on the 20 network, as you can see here on this diagram. So here we go. Again, I'll be pinning these on the comments section and probably putting a link to them in the video description as well. So there's 2.4. And again, I've got these in a compatible mode, so they're not super fast. Like this, the Wi-Fi on this router is faster than what you're going to see here. So there, I'm connected to it. Let's see what the IP address is. And IP address is 20.144 on the 20.1 network, right? Wi-Fi AX, so that's Wi-Fi 6 and WPA3. Beautiful, right? We can do a little speed test here. Let's hit that. Like I said, I have it set not for speed, but for compatibility. So right now, I can actually get almost 180 on this. But right now, I got to set, like I said, if you've watched my videos, I set this. Well, look, it's going to go to 180 anyway. There we go. All right. Oh, well, I thought I had it set pretty slow, but it seems to be going quite fast. All right. So that's 2.4, and it's on the 20 network. And let's go to the 5 gigahertz right here and connect. Connected. Let's see what it says about it. Once again, AX, 802.11ax. So Wi-Fi 6, that's the cool thing about Wi-Fi 6. It upgrades 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz to AX. Really cool. You know, that is a big deal as far as I'm concerned. WPA3 and, you know, decent speeds here. So as you can see, and like I said, 20.1 20.144 and the 20.1 network. So you can see that the Wi-Fi and the 3 ports are all on the same network. Let's do a speed test again. Allow. And like I said, this actually, I've had it going to the almost as fast as my Ethernet, and it looks like it's pretty well there again. All right, that's darn fast Wi-Fi as far as I'm concerned, especially on a router that I bought from eBay for less than $30. I actually got one brand new the other day from eBay for $30. It's still in the plastic wrapping in the box. So I may do an unboxing on that one in the future. But pretty cool and amazing for the price of what you're getting. And look at the things you can do here, right? So let's put this back. The only way we can get back to the router is to put the Ethernet cable back into port 1. So I'm going to do that. There we go. And I'm going to turn Wi-Fi off. There we are. I only like to talk to the router through Ethernet. Turn the Ethernet back on here. There we go. Now there are other ways of doing this where you can get into the Wi-Fi router, into the router through Wi-Fi, but it's not really a secure idea, right? This is the best way. If you don't have access to the Ethernet port on the back of this router, you're not getting into it, and that is very secure. So there we go. So, and why would you want to get into it? Well, you want to change some settings, maybe do some more videos like I'm going to show you in my next one, and, experiment a little bit. So now I should be on the 1 network. So let's look at the status. Yep, 192.168.1.1. So that's working great. And now I should be able to access the router. Let's just go back to it here, see if I can get to it. Okay, advanced, proceed, because I'm using HTTPS. Firefox will always do that. And what I mean by that, if you watch the videos, you'll know. And this is just another security thing, I'm focused on security. So in administration, if you go down here and you uncheck the HTTP and check the HTTPS here, for web access, then it'll force you to go to a secure web page, and Firefox and any browser will complain about it because it doesn't have a signed certificate, but it doesn't matter. It's still secure and it's still good and it's still encrypted. So your password doesn't flow from your computer to your router or in clear text, right? That is a security thing. So back to setup here. You can see we're now back on the router because we're on the 1 network. And if we go here to networking, you'll see the whole setup. Beautiful, right? So that's the entire thing. Now, if you need more ports, as I was saying, get yourself a switch. Spend $20. Get 8 more. Well, actually, you'll get 7 more additional ports to your network. Actually, you're going to get 6 because 2 are used up in connecting the 2 devices. But other than that, go with the 8 port. I think it's a better deal than the 5 port, right? But just so you know, this little 5 port plastic, switch is every bit as capable as this metal boxed one here, and it is only $9. So, and I've tortured this thing. I plugged it into between my modem and my whole network for months to see if I could get it to burn out. It did not burn out. It didn't slow down. I didn't even know it was there. I forgot I even had it plugged in. And then I went to it one day. I go, oh, yeah. Then took it off. Never had a problem with it. So that's $9 for 5 ports, right? These ones in the plastic casings, they're not much different in price from the ones in the metal casing. So again, links in the video description below. I'll put those there. Other than that, we're done with this configuration, but in the next configuration, my next video, not done with this yet. All right, we got this done here. This is great, right? And beautiful, because now your router is completely protected from your network. All these things are on their own network, that's fine. That's normal in most people's networks. And IoT devices are on their own network where they just work and don't bother anything on in your house. They're just outside of that altogether. They have their own private network, and anything that you put into your home network that's an IoT device should go in here. Anything that you want to access, each other inside, it should go inside this box. But what if you want another network, a private network for business, let's say? The kids will be on this one, and you'll have another network for business. Guess what? Because you've got 2 more ports, still free on the back of that router. We put the network on LAN 2, and LAN 2, 3, and 4, right? Well, we could put a switch on port 2, an 8-port switch on port 2, and you would have 7 extra ports just on that first network that we just created today. You could put another switch on port 3, create a new network with everything we just put on this network today. I'm talking Wi-Fi, I'm talking Ethernet on the 3rd port, and that would be its own network with a switch that would give you 7 ports of Ethernet. It would give you Wi-Fi 6 on a second network. Actually, it would be a 3rd network at this point. And then you still got 1 more port for 1 more private network. And these networks would not see each other. They would be invisible to each other. So if you want to segment one internet connection into 3 separate networks or 4 separate networks as what we'll have here, I'm going to show you how to do that in the next video. There's already 2 networks on this router, and that is the jailed IoT devices and the home network that you see right here. I'd actually have to say there's already 3 networks, because the router is on its own individual admin network that no one has access to. So yeah, on top of these 3 networks, you can actually add another 1. Let's see, how many ports I got left? 2 more networks, right? Incredible. And those 2 networks will have everything this network has, right? Wi-Fi, Ethernet, and LAN ports, just by adding a switch to that port and then configuring it the way I'm going to show you in the next video. So that would be 1 internet connection with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separate networks. Very cool, right? I'm sure you can find a lot of reasons to have more than 1 network at your home. And it's very cool, because you could actually also share your internet connection out to, let's say, you've got a duplex and you want to share internet with your neighbor. You could do that, right? By creating his own network with Wi-Fi and whatever else he wanted to do, right? So not ideally the greatest solution for doing that, but you could. He would have no access to any of your things, and he'd be going through your internet connection. But other than that, and him using up your bandwidth, some of your bandwidth, you wouldn't know he was there, and he wouldn't know you were there either. So stay tuned for my next video, where I'll show you how to create 2 more private networks on this same router. Just incredible. If you like my content and you want to see more, do me a favor, subscribe to my channel, and as part of that process, hit the bell icon, and then you'll be notified every time I put up a new video. Then you can watch the video at your own leisure. Also, give me a like, give me a thumbs up at the bottom of this video. That helps this video to trend on YouTube. Not only are you helping me, you're helping other people to get this content as well. Comment section below the video. Anything you want to say to me, as I stated before, put it in there. Appreciate that feedback. Really, really love talking to you. Also, video description, there'll be links for all this stuff, the switches and hardware that I use. Those are affiliate links, but it doesn't cost you any more than going directly to Amazon and buying this stuff. The nice thing is that when you go and use those links, you will end up buying exactly the same hardware I'm showing here on this video. For instance, this here is a TP-Link 8-port switch, 1 gigabit switch. But the cool thing about it is that I bought this one renewed and it looked brand new when I got it, and I only paid like $15 for it. So again, look for the links in the video description. I'll take you to the same devices I just showed you in this video. Again, and then you can go real cheap and spend like $9 and get this. And you really, the wild thing about this thing here that looks like a toy is that it is every bit as fast as my metal cased 5-port switch. It's incredible that I paid $15 for. Amazing deal. I want to thank you for watching, and like always, take care of yourself, take care of others, stay healthy, stay happy, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.